thanks for everyone for coming out today. As James said, we had to, due to unforeseen circumstances, Meg couldn't be here today, and so we had to get a substitute session because we didn't want to leave you all hanging. But I think you're going to really enjoy this. So this morning, these guys came to me and said, "Hey, Meg's not going to be able to make it today. What are we going to do?" And I was like, I don't know. Let me go back to my desk and think for 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, Scott walks over and sits down at his desk. And I was like, hey, Scott, you remember that presentation you did at Agile and Beyond earlier this year? And I know you're working on some changes to that. How would you like to do that today? So he was like, yeah, let me grab my co-host Bill and said, hey, they decided they would go ahead and do it. So you guys are in for a rare treat here today. So they're going to be talking about team sourcing effective feedback. So I know that's not what you came for, but I think you're really, really going to find this valuable for sharing feedback among your team. So Scott and Bill, why don't you guys come on over?
Thanks, buddy. So we're going to want this mic to be available for people in the audience. Is it a problem if I leave it on? Okay. So here. Let's set that a little bit. There we go. So there we go. Like Jess said, I'm Scott Schmerer. I'm a development manager here at TechSmith. Bill Scanlon, he's a staff engineer on one of the teams that I work on, as well as a close buddy of mine. We are going to just whip you into the deep end because we're taking the exact opposite approach to the way I've done this talk before, and we're going to see what happens. So what we're going to do is there's a bunch of feedback. This feedback is either 100% real or 80% real. Most of it's 100% real feedback that has been given to people around this company, as well as a little bit of like I needed to fill in some gaps, so I had some other people write up some feedback as well. The idea is that we are going to look at a couple pieces of feedback at a time, and then I'm going to ask everyone to vote which one they think is the better piece of feedback. And when I say better, better is whatever better means to you. Like when you look at that feedback, what are the parts that stand out to you? Which is the one that you would prefer to see people getting or yourself getting, right? Not necessarily the content of, but the way the feedback is being presented. Does that make sense? Any questions before we dive right in? Okay. So Bill, can you pull over a couple of them? Just any, the ones with the same colors would be preferred. Cool. So the one on the top is going to be number 1 when we do our voting. Then the one on the bottom will be number 2 when we do our voting. So I'm going to just read them to you. The first one is, and these are things that are sort of more reinforcing, sort of positive pieces of feedback. The first one is, they reported a specific problem in my approach and provided a potential solution. That was really above and beyond the call of duty, and it was especially helpful considering how tight my deadline was. The other one is going to be, they do a good job of speaking up even when we get too far off the rails, even when they don't have context about what we're saying. There may be some room for cutting things off earlier, but that's an extremely hard skill to master. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. When you're ready to vote, just go like this. A few more hands. Anybody else? You got a choice, Mike? You ready?
So we're trying to choose between the two?
Yep. Number 1, which one's better in your opinion? The first one or the second? Oh, silent vote. Go like this. Cool. When I get down to 1, put up 1 for the top one, 2 for the second one. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Looks like we got, leave them up for a second so I can sort of get a gauge of the room. Looks like we mostly have 1s. So Bill, can you put the 1 in the more, please? And the other one in the fewer. Thank you. You want to, yeah, I like it. Change it up. So these ones are more things that people should consider changing, more constructive pieces of feedback. Same rules apply. First one's the top one, second one's at the bottom one. First one, potentially help other people get time to speak Oftentimes, the loudest and/or more frequent voice in the room drives conversations, and it can become difficult for people to get their opinions in, particularly if they're typically quiet or shy in nature. Against the second one, which is they don't care, they never chime in or share their thoughts about anything. So, same thing. When you're ready, click this. Cool. I think I have everybody. 3, 2, 1. All right. I think we're looking at 100%. So all the first one into the more, please. Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. I like it. It's all about convenience. Okay, we're going to do some more consider changing ones. First one, I think they are occasionally nervous and/or talking really fast in bigger meetings, which leads to information actually being more confusing when they interject. So my suggestion would be for them to prepare a bit more such that they can convey information succinctly and clearly. Against, the person is loud and distracts everyone around them. Just this week, I observed 3 separate occasions where they've engaged other team members on non-work items. This not only impacts their productivity, but also the productivity of everyone around them. Same rules apply. You ready to? 3, 2, 1. Almost all ones. We have 1, 2. It's up to you. It's no big deal. Helps if they're in line. There you go. Perfect. Thanks. We'll jump back to the reinforcing ones. First one is, when pointing out concerns, they provide good detail rather than some terse statement about the problem. The second one is, any action items they take on are acted on quickly. Same rules apply. When you're ready, do this. Cool. 3, 2, 1. Mostly ones again, couple twos. Sounds good. Yeah, we just did that one. That'll be more convenient for the next part. So, so now I think you sort of get the idea of what we're going through a little bit. Now you all personally have some feelings about which ones you think are the better piece of feedback and which ones you think maybe have room for improvement, at least compared to the first one. Why? So based on our room, this one on the left got more votes. Why do we think that the one on the left got more votes? Microphone, please, if you can. It's right there in the middle. Yep. I'm not sure. Yeah. And streaming.
Hello? All right. So I chose one personally because I thought that the second suggestion didn't really point out what they did well. I mean, it kind of states the obvious, like any action item they create is they're taking action on it, but it doesn't really give them feedback as to what they're doing right.
Okay.
And why people take action on it quickly. Whereas the first one said, they provide good detail rather than a tense statement about the problem when pointing out concerns. So.
Nice. So that one's the one on the left is a little bit more specific. Is that fair?
Yes.
Is that a quick summary? Anybody else? Thoughts on the first one? Don't forget you all voted on one or the other, so you do have an opinion in your head. And I'm very comfortable with silence.
Everybody's comfortable with silence.
Mm-hmm. Why did you guys pick why did more people pick the first one?
the first one for the same reason.
Okay.
Just the second one didn't have a lot of additional detail about the circumstances surrounding the feedback, and the first item did, so it's always helpful to have that little bit more detail and specific info than not.
Sure. So the one on the right did get some votes. Why? Yep.
So being a rebel, I guess I picked 2.
Okay.
No,
Why?
I was thinking about number 1 as more of a kind of working agreement that the group or team should already have in place. And I liked 2 in terms of a reinforcement because it says when we've reached a consensus on something, we're going to take action on it right away. And being a manager that I am, I really like to reinforce when I think things are moving in a positive direction, and in this case would be momentum.
Okay. So the result, sort of, I think that you're getting from this one, right? Is one.
Correct. Correct.
Cool. Green ones were more constructive. Do you remember? One on the left got more votes. Oh, no, I'm lying. Yeah, these are still more positive ones. The one on the left. Why did the one on the left get more votes from the room?
I voted for the first one because it called out an exact moment of time where it was helpful for the person to get called out on a potential problem, and they were also able to help find a solution.
Nice. That's cool. Anybody else thoughts on the first one?
So I think there's also some interesting subtleties to the first one that seems a little more personal, and like the person is providing a little more, like I said, personal feedback, whereas the second one feels almost like a compliment and a criticism at the same time, and almost seems a little off topic. I'm not sure why an evaluation of the situation in the room matters, if we are already giving that feedback.
Interesting.
So.
Nice. Speaking of the second one, why did the second one get some votes? And it's not necessarily which one you voted for, it's just your personal feelings. But if you voted for it, it's extra helpful to talk about it.
Really picked the second one for pretty much the opposite reason.
Okay.
I did like that it gave sort of a positive and a negative piece of feedback, and I feel like that's a little bit more helpful in a lot of circumstances if you're trying to be constructive. While the other feedback is helpful, it's definitely more of a personal positive sort of type of feedback. The second one I do like because it sort of focuses on where you might be able to improve as well as what you've done well.
Nice. Thank you. Can you scroll me down a little bit, though? Thank you. Oh, yeah, glitch with this system a little bit. So the blue ones are lined up. One on the left. That one got more votes. I don't think it was all of them, but it got more votes. So this is more constructive feedback. Why did that one get more votes?
Good. The first one, I believe, will get more feedback because it's more positive.
Okay.
But in both of them, there's to me there could be more information. You have like the word "more" starred, and the one that had more votes. What is more? What are some instances? And then the other one that talked about 3 separate occasions. What were these occasions? Because if you don't provide enough feedback, it's hard for the person receiving the feedback to know what specifically was the problem.
Sure.
one could be kind of targeted, and a defensive person could get severely defensive.
Okay.
Because maybe it's just me, but I feel like the person who wrote that kind of had aggravation when they were writing it.
Okay.
Where the first one, I think it's less likely to cause the person who's getting the feedback to become defensive, which means they're more likely to actually act on it and start working on what they were doing.
That makes sense. How about that second one? I don't think it got all. I think this one got some votes. Does anyone want to talk to why that one got votes? Right. Or what is good about this one, even if nobody voted for it? So some of the things that stick out to me, right, personally, right, it's terse, right? It's right to the point. So you know exactly what the thing is that the person has feedback on. Some people prefer it to not be, beat around the bush, but that sort of depends on the person. You also talked about there being a pattern. That I thought was interesting too.
I also think it's good that at the end it does include that it doesn't only affect others, but also the person themselves who's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like their productivity is also being affected.
Sure. Great point. We doing okay? 2 minutes? Cool. Got time to do the last one. One on the left, constructive stuff again. Why that one? I've only got 2 minutes before I got to move on, so this is the time for somebody to really grab that mic. Thanks, Derek.
So what I really like about the first comment is it calls to action exactly what number 2 is trying to address,
Okay.
but ways to actually solve the problem rather than just calling out what the problem is.
Legit. It's a really good point.
Very understanding way, not necessarily blaming the person for doing anything wrong, but simply that they're the type of person who has trouble in this situation.
Yeah. Nice.
So also the second one, it makes an assumption. It just because somebody isn't speaking doesn't necessarily mean that they don't care. It just, they may be, there may be other louder voices that they feel uncomfortable talking over, so.
Okay. For the mic, yes. I agree with the second for that. Cool. Let's see. Like we said this morning, we are winging it, so I'm trying to remember the next part. Now we talk about the summary. Thank you. Cool. We've just gone through a bunch of feedback, right? I understand that this isn't feedback that you all have written for yourselves or for anybody on your team, but if we consider ourselves as a room, a team of people that appreciate things about feedback and don't appreciate things about feedback, what is the stuff that resonated? Like, what is the stuff that you remember from the conversations from what everyone's been bringing up so far? What are the things that are important about feedback for this room?
To me, like a theme that kind of resonates with all of that is don't make it personal. Be impartial and constructive, and try to be as positive as you can.
In general, it seems like it's helpful if there's an action that you provide for the person to do to correct it. Not just the gripe, but maybe try this, or if you took in this direction, it'd be helpful.
So be specific and don't project feelings on other people that they may have. Like the one that says they don't care. Like you don't know that they don't care. You're just, that could be your perception or assumption.
been being a very helpful facilitator assistant with us here. He's been collecting a list of things that y'all have said. Oh, can you put it there? That fast? Okay.
It might be me speak.
Okay. We are winging it. We could also, you have a mic, right? Do you want to just convert it right now and we can get up the
Sure, so you need to
notes
open
later?
it.
What's that? Oh, did you get it up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but yeah.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think you guys hit most of the stuff. The one thing that was called out was sorry that I didn't get, is the sort of the impact of the event. So for one of the negatives events, it was like they're both kind of the same, but one was like, this is how it impacts other people. And then really hit most of them. The other one was sort of keep it focused, I think, to one topic, although there were kind of mixed opinions on that. I think someone was like, I like the positive and the negative, and the other one was like, no, just focus on one thing. So,
yeah.
But mostly you guys hit all the things that I had.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So the idea, right, is by, especially as the person sort of facilitating this, if I'm not normally I wouldn't be doing this and walking around and doing it to a group of 20 people or whatever, that you can sort of collect this, because as the facilitator, like Bill's sitting over there, he's not in this team, right? So Bill doesn't super care what you guys think is good about feedback and what you think is bad about feedback. The important part is that you all have a sort of a shared understanding on how to approach feedback with each other so that you can give feedback in a way that your teammates are going to be able to hear it, and be able to keep in mind that some of these things are positives for you and some of these things are positive for other people on your team. So when you're giving that feedback, it's not necessarily going to be the way that you want to hear it, but the way that they want to hear it. And now you have a little bit of a glimpse into like what your team likes and dislikes about feedback. Does that sort of make sense? So that's the idea of how we would take this and be able to apply it. And that's the part where we're going to try and keep the old vulnerability engine going. Everyone has some paper and pens in front of them. What I'm going to ask everyone to do is take 5-ish minutes. Are we still doing okay on time? Take 5 minutes, and please write something that you would like to reinforce with the way, paper clips. Everyone has colored paper clips. The color of your paper clip is the shirt that you're writing feedback for, okay? Not the person in the shirt, not the actual shirt. So if you have a green paper clip, you're going to write feedback about me. If you have a pink paper clip, you're writing feedback about Bill. So please write one piece of feedback that you'd like to reinforce about what you've learned about me so far, if you have a green one, and what you've learned about Bill so far. And one piece of constructive feedback, something that I should consider changing based on what you've seen so far for me, if you have a green paper clip, and about Bill if you have a pink one. And I'll give you everybody 5 minutes.
And we could just say whatever, right? I mean, you don't know us very well, but based
Exactly.
on what you know of us right now.
Yeah. See if you can try to apply some of the stuff that you just took away from your list, because this is the way that this room appreciates feedback. What's that? You are green. Yep.
You want feedback on your presentation? This is just like a practice section.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I would love it. Make it as real as possible.
Yep.
I mean, it can be on what we're wearing. It could be on whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. Feedback on what you know about us.
We'll go to about 12:14. But if you get done early, if you wave it at me, that'll be helpful. Yep.
This we're actually ahead because this went really fast.
Cool.
So 12:15 is when this is supposed to start. So.
Oh, so we're crap in time is what you're telling me. For anyone watching on the stream right now, I'm sorry, this part's super boring. The audience is thinking right now.
Set expectations that they're expected to say, own their
pendulum real hard. Think so, Bill. We'll see who's right or wrong on that one. Oh yeah, I said that right. When you get done with yours, please wave it at me. So you waving? Sweet. Thank you.
Are you going to try to read it?
Oh yeah, we'll figure it out. What's that? Scott.
Scott, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Nope. There's something very Stevie about me. I get that a lot.
No, you kept saying Bill. I'm like, I don't think you want my paperclip back.
There you go, sir. Oh, yep. Some have the names on it, but it doesn't super matter. Mike, are you saying, is that you done? Cool, thank you, sir. And really, at the end of the day, Bill, just the ones that you can read the best are the best ones. Nice. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jules. Did you just pick a color? Yeah. Good job. Thank you, sir. Oh, interesting. Oh, you've got two of them. Yeah. Thank you. All set, McVeigh? Thanks, sir. Cool. Yeah, bud. Okay. I think we got one more person finishing up, and then we'll move on. So you needing something? Okay. What's that?
Trying to read, but I figured it out. So.
Okay. You're doing. That's what I would expect.
Colors on though, or it doesn't matter?
It's not the end of the world, but like if you just quickly put, just so that we can do the comparison part afterwards too. Especially since we're a little ahead, so you don't have to panic. Just the SpongeBob it? Is that? Mm-hmm. David, you're writing feedback for us, right? Okay, cool. Cool. We got one more person still writing. It's almost like we planned it. Perfect. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the going all in. Cool. Good to go? You should be able to. Sounds good. All right, mouse. All right, everybody. We can bring it on back. So Bill's in the process of doing a little bit of transcribing. Normally when I play a game of this with teams, we do it into a digital system. People have a lot of time to, like, we start it out, we say, like, we give them their paperclip, if you will, right? So everyone picks a person on, or everyone gets randomly selected a person on the team. And then they have about 2 weeks to sort of anonymously observe, if you will, right? And pay attention to the same thing I just asked of you guys. Pick something that you want to reinforce with what that person's been doing over the past couple weeks. Pick something constructive that you'd like them to at least consider changing. All with the intent of making all of us better teammates, making it easier to work together, improving everyone's sort of skills as a team, creating a stronger team, a team that can react to feedback well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the feedback that you guys just gave to me, and we're going to sort of represent what that would be like, right? So I'm just going to chug through the colors as Bill sort of does a little bit of transcribing, and we'll run through a faster version. I'm not going to go through all 20 of y'all's feedbacks, but we'll do a little bit to get a taste of it, right? So the first one, really enjoyed hearing different opinions on the topics from the crowd. The second one is good narration of the board good narration of the board that helped convey knowledge. I'm going to go with that. So same thing. When you're ready, the fifth thing. Yeah, top one's number 1, bottom one's number 2. Does everyone feel ready? 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a mixed bag. By my really fast count, the ones just barely squeaked through. Good job, ones. If everyone hasn't noticed, the voting process is not of critical importance. The behind the scenes part of this, right, is like I said at the beginning, we have everyone vote, everyone forms an opinion on the piece of feedback that for them when they read it is the one that they prefer. The idea is that that's hopefully a way to pull out what can be an uncomfortable sort of moment of like, why is this a piece of feedback that you would prefer to hear yourself? But if you hold that in, your teammates don't know about it, your teammates are going to give you feedback like this because that's the way that they like to hear feedback, because that's why some people are voting for that one. But you want to hear it like this and vice versa. And if we don't actually have a chance to like collaborate on that a little bit, it's incredibly difficult to just assume those things. Some things do come out as fairly common. People tend to like things that are a little bit specific, have examples, be careful with the way that you're wording things. But it's interesting because there's plenty of times where we were going through some of that list and people pointed to the one that was a little bit harsher, and 90% of the room said, yep, it has to be this one. And 10% is like, no, actually I like the one that's really harsh. It's sort of people's opinions, right? So why did we vote for the one on the left? Just barely for the ones.
The one on the left. There we go. All right, the one on the left was the focus was on the presentation itself and how the presentation itself went.
Okay.
It provided feedback for you guys that was more digestible.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the first one? How about the second one? Why did people vote for the second one? Ooh, our cameraman wants to talk. Uh-huh.
I thought the second one was more specific about the exact thing that they thought was better.
Mm-hmm.
Barely, a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
I thought the second one was more explicit about the actual presenter rather than the first one was more like the end result of like, what came of the presentation,
Sure.
then we're eliciting people's responses rather than the act of, doing the act of the presentation.
Yeah. So the first one had just the outcome without the rest of it. This one has a little bit of what I'm assuming, I don't know, what this person was doing that was making the learning experience more functional.
Exactly.
I like it. Yeah, I forgot that now that stuff is about me, I should have been voting too. Yeah, I was a 2. I like the second one personally. Thank you. Who wrote the first one? Thank you, Paige. Yeah. Who is it for?
What was that?
Who is it for?
You.
Okay. And the second one? Who wrote the second one?
Yeah, that's a transcriber error. If I remember correctly, I wrote good navigation of the board, which helped convey knowledge of the tool.
That makes sense.
I'm just fixing that.
He's doing his best.
So I need to change my comment.
And who was that one for, Bruce?
Bill.
Bill. Awesome. Thank you.
That's why I need to change my comment.
Cool. Let's move on. Yeah, whoops, I'm screwing up the order a little bit. That's okay. Let's do these red ones. They're a little bit further down, which means they took a little bit longer to get in. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. I love the constructive ones. Okay, first one. Sometimes actual speed of speech is too quick. This may be a product of deadlines, but can lead to too little time for audience to process. The second one is usage of ums and moving around a lot shows a little bit of potential nervousness and being unsure of your material. Which one is the better piece of feedback, the first one or the second one? Same thing, fist when you're ready. Three, 2, 1. I'm a 2-man myself. Mostly ones, though. Let's see. Let's build up a little bit of a backlog here. I'm going to go with this one and this one, just because Bill has already given me some colors to work with. First one, would enjoy to see it in PowerPoint or something else rather than Trello, versus some orientation of the Trello board and the colors will help. First one and the second one. Okay, tough game. 1, 3, 2, 1, go. Mostly 2s, just a couple of us 1s. Man, interesting. Mostly 2s, a couple 1s. Okay. I think we're on the reds, right? Let's do the reds real quick. What's that? Oh, sorry, we just did the purples, but we did the greens already. Yeah, we did those. Okay, whatever. We just did these first. Let's do these first. Why did the one on the left get a lot more votes?
So I chose the one on the left because it's specific to this presentation, in ways you can improve this particular presentation. It's not calling for you to redo your entire presentation.
Sure. Number 2. We're doing okay in time, right? We're getting a little close. Okay. Number 2. Why number 2? Ooh, I should do it. I voted for this one, and there's not that many votes. This one rings super true. Like, right? It's part of the fun. Like, some of the fun of this game is your entire team doesn't know which piece of feedback is about who, right? Something tells me that this one's probably about me, but it doesn't have to be, right? It could have been about Bill, But I read this and I'm like, oof, that resonates real good. Like that's 100% true, and a bunch of stuff that is not only accurate, but also, yeah, crutches, because I don't do this very much. So it's like, for me, that's really impactful, and it's nice to hear that it's still a concern area for me and something to still keep working on. So I appreciate somebody being able to bring that up. Yeah, perfect amount of detail for me. Who wrote the first one?
Are we talking about the rest of the purples now? Because we kind of just...
You're right. See, this is why I do the feedback first. It's too late. You can't judge me now. You're right. I screwed that up. This one, you're right. I'm sorry. This is why I was asked the audience, I guess. Why did we do this one? Oh yeah. Let me see. I voted for this one too, so I'll answer the same way. This is really helpful because one of the big things that Bill and I are trying to do this, like why we wanted to run this today anyways, is to try to get a feel for if we just do the super raw version in Trello, is it impactful and does it function well and stuff like that. And so having somebody hit it with perspective on, yep, I cut all of the slides. That's how the normal thing actually works and stuff like that, with a part that goes into Trello. So it's just interesting to hear that part to help us second guess where we're at. So to me, that was really helpful, even if it is a full teardown, if I want to take that approach, right? Who wrote the first one? Bruce, damn, thanks, buddy. Got it yours in fast. Who is it for?
It's actually Bill.
Okay.
Because he was navigating.
Sure.
I've never seen a Trello one before, so I'm still trying to wonder where did these colors come from and what does it mean?
Super helpful.
It's just primary, secondary, and voting now, but is that really what it is? I don't know.
Most people use it for like Jira. Are you familiar with Jira? Like you know, as a way to like keep tasks moving forward through. And what? Kanban boards. Yep, Kanban boards. Yep. Oh, they're hidden or whatever. They're not right now. They don't necessarily mean anything, but I use them as like they match the words and stuff like that. So some of them are labeled, some of them aren't. But it's really just about when we're looking at them, not to act like if they're not perfectly aligned or something like that, not accidentally comparing the wrong ones. And stuff
Like he
that.
just did.
Yeah, exactly like I just did. Let's see. Cool. Second one. Who wrote that one? Page again. Thank you. Oh, glitch in the system. I went. Yeah. Then it was an accident to pick everyone's same ones twice.
I wrote it just because we use Trello at my company, so I can totally see kind of where he's coming from. If you're not familiar with Trello, it can be kind of hard to follow.
Absolutely.
It took us a month at least to get used to it. So
Sure.
my point was if somebody wasn't familiar with the system.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Who's it for?
You.
Cool. Thank you.
Well, kind of both, but
Uh-huh.
I had to write for you.
Sounds good. Second ones. I screwed it up because I was too excited about these ones. Why the first one? We already know the second one, at least for me. But I think the first one got quite a few more votes. I don't remember. It's got more. That's all that matters.
So something I'm kind of struggling with from time to time is voting on the content itself or the way it was written. So for this one, I'm pretty sure I voted for 1 because I liked the way it was presented to you or
Sure.
whoever. But I like the content better of the second one. So it's kind of a little battle. But
Sure.
So as far as how it was written, I preferred the first one because I thought it was specific, kind of objective. I kind of said this may be a product of deadlines.
Yeah.
So kind of like I understand why this might be happening. But the second one is a little more constructive for you to take back and act on that.
Sure.
So.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you. We're running out of time, so I'm going to hustle real quick, right? So who wrote the first one? Nice. Fine. New people. Thanks, buddy. Who's it for? Who's it for? Thank you. Second one?
I wrote that one, and it was for you.
Okay.
And I wrote it because I identified the same things.
Gotcha.
I struggled with the same.
Cool. It's helpful. Thank you. So, right, in a smaller group, some of the stuff, there's a lot of other, I'll try and wrap it up real quick about what Feedlash is, right? So I call this game Feedlash. I don't know if anyone's ever played a game called Quiplash. It's in the Jackbox games, like there's sort of some silly games or whatever. That's what inspired this idea of trying to take feedback and actually critique the feedback itself, which doesn't seem like it happens very much in life, is what I had found. And a lot of other benefits sort of started to shake out. This is an incredibly vulnerable experience for your team to go through. It's one that can kind of create a chance for your team to really mesh a little bit better. It's one that you should be careful with how you bring to the table, because if your team is like super brand new, it might not be the best idea on day one or something like that. But as your team gets a little bit more comfortable with each other, it's a really powerful way to sort of build a little bit of connection, build some understanding about how you're going to give feedback to each other, because that's what's going to make a successful team. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, still doing my ums. It's really hard to turn off. The one thing that I find really important is the idea that, now it's impossible, right? Writing the feedback, sharing it out to each other, putting it up on the board like this. The reason why normally it's very powerful for each, that's why the game is sort of randomized so that every single person is writing feedback for somebody else in the room. No, I'm second guessing it all. Going off script now, so now I'm stressing. That you want everyone to be sort of in the same pile. Oh my God, I can't stop it now. You want everyone to be in the same sort of vulnerable spot, because reading feedback about yourself, writing feedback about other people, putting it up on a board like this is non-trivial, right? I really appreciate everyone that put stuff together. I know that we didn't get through everyone's feedback, but and I know I didn't tell everyone that we were going to actually do some of these parts after the fact. I would tell teams that this is how things are going to go. I sort of wanted to test and see how the room would react to the fact that I was going to ask everyone to start admitting that they wrote the feedback. So there's a little bit of trying to understand that piece of it. Please, you're welcome to talk if that's what you're grabbing the mic for.
Mostly, I was just going to say, thank you for letting us do this. Obviously, like you said, it was last minute, something that we're putting together, so it's in rough state. And I think we learned a lot today, so that's really good. And,
there's a bit.ly over there, bit.ly/last, all capital letters, Feedlash. There's a Google folder that'll have a link to Bill's notes on things that this group took away, if there's things that sort of inspire you about what's good feedback when you get back to the office for yourselves to keep in mind, but also it's more interesting when it's about your team instead of a bunch of not strangers, right, necessarily, but people you're not necessarily going to work with every single day, right? There's a link to this board. Anyone can get to this board if you want to go and see some of the stuff that we wrote up. There's a survey in the folder that you could take that has some simple numbers and stuff like that, just so we can try to crisp this up a little bit, because we're going to try and do it in some other places if it works. So that it's interesting. It's helpful to know. I really appreciate you guys letting us wing it with you a little bit today. There's some facilitation notes that I can also throw in there in case this is something that you would actually like to apply to your team. There's just some tips and tricks. There's also a few books that have sort of inspired some of the nuances of things that I personally look for when I'm writing feedback. But like I said, the big piece of it is getting on the same page with the people that are on your team and reacting to that. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Any questions? So
if you're going to do it with a team,
yeah.
Would you have them all be depersonalized?
You probably got to grab a mic somewhere. Who took the mic?
So if you're...
Where did the last one go? Do you have it? Sorry, go ahead. Green light.
So if you're going to do it with your team, would all the feedback be depersonalized? Because you have 8 people. Do you want people to get stuck up that, Bob said Mary does this? Or have you done it that way before?
That's the only way I do it.
Okay.
Right, yeah, and so this version isn't a perfect example of it. One thing that I wanted to try to really get across today was the iteration, right? Starting from scratch. Even the first round of feedback, right, when I do a presentation like this, it would be too difficult to collect all that just for the initial conversation. We need something to talk about. But even that first round is meant to be real stuff about the real team, how the team is going to approach it very raw themselves. Have that conversation, take that list of valuable summary sort of things that come from the team about how people like to apply feedback, and then come back a month later and do it again. and then see how much the feedback changes, how much better aligned it is with your teammates. Yeah, that's what I was talking about when it comes to like, don't do this on day one with your team. If you're on a team right now where giving peer feedback back and forth is something that's super, super unsafe, to me that's a smell that you would like to start working on your team. It's really interesting how quick that fear, I think, is stronger than it really is true. People kind of move towards this pretty quickly. If you were being honest with the group that things are going to be shared and everyone's going to know who wrote what and we're all going to put it up on the board and talk about it, people tend to be a little bit more careful during that first game, right? But as the team gets more comfortable, there's stuff up here that I'm super impressed by, that people are hitting on some real, like, you know, poignant pieces of feedback. That's not always the case during the first round of a game like this. But during the second and third ones, people start to get to some real stuff that they've probably been wanting to talk to people about for a long time and haven't found the space, the comfort, the safety to do that. So, yeah, Bill and Karen they might get upset with each other, but they're already upset with each other. They're just not telling each other.
So I'm guessing you've given this to other teams or had other experiences with it. How has that gone for yourself as well as what you observed the other teams?
Sure. Let's see. So I invented this with a team of mine that had like a really strong connection already. It was less concerns that I had of Bill and Karen, or I forget the names, and it went over really well. It was more true for some people that they were as comfortable as I thought they were than others, which was really interesting. Some people had really deep, sort of detailed feedback on that first round. Some people had a little bit more shallow feedback. And then during that, even the second time we played, that third time we played, everyone's feedback was starting to get to that same level of actually, like, really, really like helpful feedback. It was following the things that this team found helpful, a little bit of detail on what happened, the impact to the team, an example of it happening for real, suggestion on how you might be able to actually improve from it and things like that. So it's been super successful for me, but I haven't played it with a ton of different teams, and I'm getting pointed at my watch because it's time to start wrapping up. So if you have any other questions or anything like that, like I said, there is a survey thing. You can just fill it out in that folder. You can reach out to anybody here. My name is Scott Schmerer. I work at TechSmith. You could find me on LinkedIn or something like that, but you can also hit up the meetup sort of owner. I don't know who that is. Is that Jeff? For myself. Cool. So I'm more than happy. I'm really curious how some of this stuff applies in different organizations and things like that. If people want to try it, I would love to be helpful if there's a way for me to do that. But hopefully you took something away from it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.